What's up, everybody? It's Jared with Capture the Magic, and there is a lot of construction going on at Walt Disney World, and one of those projects that is just now getting underway is home to the former Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser Hotel, which, if you don't remember that, will give you a quick refresher, but it did not last very long, less than a year before it was announced it was going to close. And this is now going to be the home of some Imagineering offices, which I do feel like is a little bit of a cruel treatment to have to work every single day in one of the biggest failures that the company probably has ever had.
I got no place else to go.
But we are going to go through this and talk about it, as well as where you can now meet Darth Vader, as another one of the projects going on is the closure of Star Wars Launch Bay that is going to make way for a new attraction in Hollywood Studios. Now, if you don't remember the Starcruiser, I'll give you a quick refresher here. This was the Star Wars themed hotel where essentially you were LARPing as a Star Wars character for 2 days-ish, 2.5 days, basically. And, obviously had a lot of attention and had a lot of potential, I will say. But ultimately, it failed mostly due, I would say, to the cost. And the cost of this was 2 guests per cabin was over $1,200 per night, or the entire voyage was $4,800. If you had 3 guests per cabin, that ended up being little under $900 per guest. And then the entire voyage was going to be $5,200, actually $5,300. And if you had 4 guests per cabin, which could even be 3 adults, 1 child, it was going to be $750 per person and almost $6,000 to do this.
What did you say?
It was much more akin to a cruise than it was a hotel stay. And not only was it very expensive, but you also had pretty small rooms that also didn't have windows, because the whole thing was supposed to be that you were in space on this Star Cruiser and basically living out a Star Wars story. And what you got for that very expensive stay was a 2-night stay in a standard cabin or suite, ongoing interactive and immersive entertainment. There were meals included, which one would assume at that price point, 2 breakfasts, 2 lunches, and 2 dinners, which that's the entire time there, not per day. Gratuities were included for the dinners, so I suppose that's a plus. There was also 1 quick service meal with alcohol option at Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo and at other select locations in Hollywood Studios. Admission to Disney's Hollywood Studios, an exclusive Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser themed magic band, and you also got valet parking.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Now, I will say the people that I know that did it say they really enjoyed it. But again, I think the price point here, we're talking about essentially a family of 4 is going to cost $6,000 for a 2-night stay. It's pretty easy to see why this failed. So they announced it was going to close down within a year. And Bob Iger said they were going to turn this into Imagineering offices. And that is where we're at here, where the site of, I would say, when you talk about theme parks, this is one of the biggest failures that they had as a company, as it was over a $300 million loss for the company. And to then have your Imagineering offices in the same building, which was one of the company's biggest blunders, seems a bit cruel. I don't know if they're putting people in here that had anything directly to do with the Starcruiser. That seems like it might be some punishment.
Right to jail, right away.
I don't know. I don't know. That just seems a harsh reminder on a day-to-day basis of some of the things that you have done. Now, I will say the idea of the Starcruiser, I don't think was a bad one necessarily. The price point obviously was absolutely insane, but the idea of being able to play a Star Wars story or other types of stories, I think is interesting. I think in execution, it's way too much for most people that they want to do to take on. But I think some sort of themed hotel after, an IP is not a bad idea, but one where you're forced to basically LARP all day long as a Star Wars character, I never thought was something that was going to appeal to the mass audiences out there. And obviously that proved to be the case. But they are finally doing some construction here. As Blog Mickey says, it does look like Walt Disney World is moving forward with transforming the former Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser into an office space for Walt Disney Imagineering. And there were recent aerial photos that show work is underway on the site. A permit has been filed last month that supports the rumor that significant work is taking place at the former Starcruiser building. And here is some photos from BioReconstruct here, so you can see some materials have shown up on property. So nothing major as of yet has happened, but they are starting to get some, construction materials showing up for whatever they are going to do here, which they're probably not going to do a whole lot here. The building, and you can see here, it never was a big building. It's just a very small, it was a very, like, I think 200 rooms even. It didn't have many rooms in the hotel itself. So it probably is set up fairly well to be an office space. And there were rumors about this could become something else, maybe a Marvel themed sort of either hotel or dinner and a movie or some other Star Wars story. But Disney also took a tax write off on this. And I had said the entire time, to be able to do anything else with this other than have it for storage or, like here, use it for office space, they would have to pay back the basically rebate they got from taking the tax credit on that. They'd have to pay that back, which they were not going to do. So I don't know what it looks like inside now. Nobody has seen pictures of it, to my knowledge, for a while. But that is where some Imagineering offices are going to be. Who knows when this will be done? But I don't imagine it'll be too much here, because I don't think I would be curious to see if they're going to leave any of the Star Wars elements in here. That would be kind of curious, or if it's all been gutted. I would assume they took all that out, but maybe they didn't. Maybe it makes for a decent workspace where you just got all this stuff that you could play with that nobody's going to use. And speaking of Star Wars, it was announced a couple months ago that the animation courtyard and Star Wars launch bay would be closing to make way for a new animation experience coming into Hollywood studios. And it has now officially closed, as there are now construction walls up over here. You can see some of these photos here that the walkway in there is definitely a little different. Got some construction walls, as you are going to have all over Disney property for many years to come, as there's going to be a lot of work at Hollywood Studios, at Animal Kingdom, at Magic Kingdom. And this was one of the more recent ones that was announced. And also the Hollywood Studios archway right there is also going to go away as well. And then this is going to make way for a brand new animation experience that I actually think is a good move, because it gets back to what that building used to be. So I do think that is probably something that will be pretty successful for the park. And I also think they're doing this because they realized this summer that shows and parades were not enough to really pull people over, and they need more things that, actual attractions to try and get more people to coming into the parks. And my guess on when this is done is probably by next summer. I don't think they're going to have to do too much here. And I do think they want things for people to check out, next summer, as they're going to continue to try and pull people over into the Disney parks during a heavy construction period that's going to be for many years now. And that is one of the challenges that they are going to be facing, is not only increased competition from Universal, their parks are there's going to be a lot of construction walls. So even if people do want to go to Disney, they may just wait until the construction is done, as construction walls are going to change the flow of the park. And there's a lot of it going on. So it'll be interesting to see how quickly they do this and how much potentially all this construction impacts them. And if there's people that basically just wait for these things to be done before deciding to, go check out the park. But with Launch Bay being closed, you can still meet Darth Vader. No, not in Galaxy's Edge, because I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, there's a whole land called Galaxy's Edge. It's based after Star Wars. Surely Darth Vader would be in there, right? Yeah, you'd be wrong. They're still not going to do that, apparently, because they're determined to never improve Galaxy's Edge and include actually, characters from the original trilogy on a consistent basis. So we're just going to continue to see Kylo Ren and Rey from time to time, and I don't know. But you can meet Darth Vader over in the Ewok Village at Hollywood Studios near Star Tours. So it says Darth Vader may have been kicked out of the now closed Star Wars launch bay, but he has found a new home near Star Tours to continue to meet with guests. It says in order to find the entrance to the Darth Vader meet and greet, walk around to the right side of the Star Tours area like you're walking to the Tatooine Trader's gift shop. The entrance to the Darth Vader meet and greet can be found at the end of the low wall. So that's the area right there where you can still meet Darth Vader. It also says, and another change is that Chewbacca is no longer meeting at Star Wars launch bay. Instead, he has a traditional queue in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Oh, well, Chewie made the cut. That's good. So you can meet Chewie in Galaxy's Edge. You can meet Darth Vader over here by Star Tours. And it sounds like BB-8, you probably are not going to be able to meet anymore. And I don't know if anybody really cares. I don't, but, I'm kind of soured on Star Wars, if you can't tell by my overall demeanor toward it. And on top of, just including the original trilogy characters in Galaxy's Edge, I still do not understand why Disney does not bring back the Jedi Training Academy that they had here to the left of Star Tours. It was a great thing. Kids loved it. I simply don't understand why they wouldn't bring it back or put it in Galaxy's Edge or do something like that. I think there's still, even with where Star Wars is, and if you're wondering where I'm at on this, if you haven't watched this channel before, I never was like the biggest Star Wars fan in the world, but I enjoyed it, and now I just don't care. It's completely just gotten to the point where I don't care what they do with it. I don't like Galaxy's Edge. I think Galaxy's Edge is a soulless husk of a land that reminds me more of a desert space town than it does anything to do with Star Wars. You don't have any original trilogy characters, you don't have any prequel characters, and the only thing you have are sequel trilogy characters that I don't care about. Now, that's my opinion. Some people do. That's fine. I just don't think that Galaxy's Edge is a great Star Wars land, considering what you could have done. And I would also assume if you're going to create an entire land based on Star Wars, you would also include characters like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and Han Solo and Princess Leia, the characters that basically built the entire franchise. But I digress. I'm not going to go on a rant completely about Star Wars here, but I suppose Darth Vader is inching closer to Galaxy's Edge. He is getting closer. He was in Launch Bay. He's over here by Star Tours. Maybe eventually he, finds his way over into Galaxy's Edge, into the Star Wars land at Disney World. We will see. But if you want to meet him, that's where you can. And the construction, the animation courtyard is going to impact, things going on over there, especially for the littles, as there's not going to be the Disney Junior show, as that's going to get revamped and a lot of other things over here as well. And if you're an Imagineer potentially out there, you may soon be working in the building that may be a daily reminder of one of the biggest failures that the company has had. I still think that's such a weird thing. Surely they're not going to put people that had anything to do with the Starcruiser in that office space. Like, surely that would be such a strange thing. That seems rather almost cruel in many ways, but I don't know. But either way, that is going to be it though for this video. So if you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Universal Studios, Epic Universe, Disney World, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about all this? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.